Hello and welcome to Week 7, Big Rican Cleveland Browns pregame live here on the Big Rican Facebook and YouTube channels. So it's Week 7 of the NFL. We're almost to the halfway point of the season, and it has been a interesting one for the Cleveland Browns thus far. So this week we're in Cincinnati, where we hopefully will follow up our win against them in Week 2 with another win to go to 5-2 on the season. Now, anybody who would have told you at the beginning of the year that the Cleveland Browns might have a chance to be 5-2 after their first 7, you'd have called them a liar to their face. But here we are at 4-2 after last week. So let's go into last week a little bit before we get into this week and what we got on tap for the Bengals this week. There comes a time in every season where teams will just get the snot beat out of them for whatever reason. Whether it's unprepared, caught a hot team, not nearly as good as people thought, it doesn't matter. Teams are going to get whooped. And last week was the second time this season that the Browns got whooped by a very, very good team. Of course, Week 1 taking the beating that they got from the Baltimore Ravens, and last week Pittsburgh put it on us pretty good. A 38-7 whooping and a 17th consecutive loss in Pittsburgh. Look, last week proved to me Pittsburgh's for real. The Browns are a good team. There aren't many teams that are above 500 right now in the NFL. I think I was reading that the playoffs started today, the Browns will be the 5 seed in the AFC playoffs. What more can you ask for at this point in time for a team in a division with 2 of the elite teams in the NFL? But no excuses being given. The Browns went out and got their butts handed to them last week. Whether we like to hear about it or not, they got smoked. Listen, they didn't get very much pressure on Ben. They didn't play well on the offensive side. Baker turned the ball over. As I have said every Sunday since I've started doing this, if the Browns control the line of scrimmage, the Browns will win the game. They did not control the line of scrimmage last week. 2 times this year they haven't controlled the line of scrimmage, Week 1 and Week 6. They're 4-2 because the other 4 weeks they controlled the line of scrimmage. So that brings us to today. A rematch with the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow. Look, they have the blueprint to beat this team, even without Nick Chubb. Dominate the line of scrimmage, run the football, play your play action and your bootlegs for Baker, and this team is a very, very good football team. It's well balanced. Something crazy, in 6 games, Baker's only thrown 67 incomplete passes. 6 of them been for interceptions. But the guy he's completing the passes at a very good clip when he has time. And the thing that killed the Browns last week with Baker, in my opinion, is that he didn't have time. It looked more like the 2019 Browns than the 2020 Browns. So all that being said, where does it bring us today? It brings us to a spot to go 5-2 with a good portion of the schedule still available. Which, by the way, if you look at what people have been saying about the Browns since last week, now that the Steelers are gone, the Browns have one of the easiest schedules in the league moving forward. They'll start with the Bengals today. You got the Raiders next week, who are beating everybody for whatever reason, but the Raiders got to come to us. Texans, Eagles, and then the Raiders, and then the bye. Texans, Eagles, Jags, Titans, Ravens, 2 weeks in New York, and then close with the Steelers. I predicted 11-5. They have a legit shot to go 11-5. So let's get back to today. Keys to today's game, because this is going to be a short episode. Keys to today's game. Dominate the line of scrimmage. Both sides of the ball. Myles Garrett has got to be getting pressure on Joe Burrow. Really, the defensive line as a whole. No Carl Joseph today, but Ronnie Harrison is back from concussion protocol. He will be an upgrade from who they would have had to put out there had Carl Joseph not been able to play, and him neither. Also, Wyatt Teller is still out on that offensive line, so it's going to be tougher without that Teller, who has been phenomenal the whole season. Jacob Phillips, linebacker, he's out. I said going into this season, I thought the linebacking core was going to be an issue. Now it's about depth in the linebacking core. Can't afford to lose any more guys. Austin Hooper, the tight end they brought in from the Falcons, he's out. He has appendicitis, so get well soon, Austin. Want to make sure you're out there as soon as you can, but definitely make sure you're healthy first. So Harrison Bryant gets his first start, who's been phenomenal. David Njoku moves one up the depth chart, and Njoku is a great tight end. He doesn't block well, but he's a great tight end. He catches the ball well, and he's a decent open field nightmare for matchups with certain defenses. The big thing the Browns can take advantage of today is there is no Joe Mixon for the Cincinnati Bengals. So if they can make Joe Burrow one-dimensional, that will definitely help them. But that means Denzel Ward's got to play on A.J. Green the way he did in week 2. That means you need to get guys like Sheldrick Redwine to step in and play better from the safety position, because right now that is where the Browns are the thinnest in the secondary, is at the safety position. When you have to play Andrew Sendejo every week, and he has basically been in the middle of all the big plays the Browns have given up, that's going to be a problem. You cannot have a guy who is physically, as I fix the camera, sorry guys, he's not fast enough to keep up with a lot of the receivers that he ends up having to rotate coverage to, nor is I think he powerful enough to keep up with a lot of the tight ends he has to end up covering. So they're trying to get a defensive scheme where you can hide him a little bit. I don't know if Joe Woods has got it. The big thing about the Browns right now is they need to be able to make stops against good teams. I don't think Cincinnati, as good as they're getting, I think Burrow can be hit. I think Cincinnati's offensive line has some issues. If they have to rotate an extra blocker to take care of Myles Garrett, you're going to open up the middle for Ogunjobi and for Sheldon Richardson. They're without their top corner. Now Odell is going to may have his way today, so you may see him throw the ball a little more. I'm going to be honest with you guys. This Browns team is tough to read. For 4 weeks, they look like world beaters. And the last 2 games with Dallas and Indianapolis, you knew Dallas had some issues on defense, but they also have a great offense. So to beat a decent team like Dallas, in my opinion, and then to beat Indianapolis, I really just think that they were going to be better than this. But last week kind of threw me for a loop. I mean, I was late getting to watch it, follow it, because they didn't, whatever reason, Fox just decided not to show games in New York until the stupid Giants were on. I go to keep an eye on it, and I open my phone, and it's 10-0 Pittsburgh already. I'm like, what is going on here? So they can't fall in an early hole. The Browns are a team built to keep the lead. They're not a team built to come back from multiple scores down. One score, yeah, you can do that. Baker's got enough weapons in the arsenal to do that, but they're not built to sustain the passing attack. They're built to sustain the running attack. And while there's nothing wrong with that, it is a fact of life when it comes to this team. Predictions. Browns are 3-point favorites on the road. I like Cleveland to win this game. I think they're going to put up some points. Let's say 27-20. Cleveland wins this game to go to 5-2, going into the Raiders and then their bye. The Raiders today may be the first team to beat 3 Super Bowl MVPs in the first 6 weeks of the season if they beat Brady today. They've already beaten Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah, this could be – the Raiders are going to be a tough out, too. Luckily, that game's in Cleveland, and they've got to come east from Las Vegas. But the last thing I want to touch on when it comes to the Browns is the actual national media. Now, I started this podcast a little over 2 years ago because I was sick and tired of hearing the talking heads run their mouths incessantly. Last week, you heard Stephen A. Smith, Baker or Jarvis and Odell need to get out of Cleveland. Why? They're 4-2. Baker may have been the first pick in the draft, But since when does the media get to tell people what the first pick in the draft is supposed to do? I don't get it. The guy's on pace to tie an NFL all-time record, and the other two guys who hold it are Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning. 25 touchdowns, first 3 seasons. Those are the only two dudes to do it. And Baker broke the record in a shortened season because he didn't play the first 2.5 games. If this is how they talk about a 4-2 team, I would hate to see if the Browns were 2-4. Or they probably wouldn't talk about them. Here's the bottom line, Browns Nation. Here's the bottom line. The Cleveland Browns are 4-2 with a really good shot to go to 5-2 as of today. With games against teams that outside of Baltimore and Pittsburgh and the Raiders at times haven't played very well this year. Houston's going to be tough because it's Houston. The Eagles, listen, their comeback win against the Giants. Ooh. This is a chance to be a playoff season for the Cleveland Browns. And the fans are going after each other on Twitter. Baker Mayfield has become like a pariah all of a sudden. This is the guy who's winning games, guys. This is the guy who has this team at a 4-2 record under center. And before you say it, oh, the running game this. Hate to break it to you. Tom Brady got his first 3 rings because he had a good defense in Adam Vinatieri. You have guys who have multiple Super Bowl rings because of one throw or a crazy catch or their defense. Trent Dilfer, who ran his mouth this week. Baker's not a playmaker. Dude, what were you? You have a Super Bowl ring because the greatest defense of all time had your back, and you played an inept Giants team in a Super Bowl. Outside of that, you were a glorified clipboard holder who got drafted in the first round because there was no other good quarterbacks in your draft. Drives me crazy. The hate on this team that has come so far in a short amount of time. If you go back to a few years ago when the Browns were starting to stockpile draft picks, move on from guys who they didn't really want, losing an organizational anchor in Joe Thomas. They're 4-2 with a really good offense and a decent defense. There's nothing else people can ask for right now. The job is to beat Cincinnati with some injury issues. Both Baker and Jarvis are playing with rib injuries. The job is to beat Cincinnati today. Get to 5-2, and if you go into the break at 5-3, you split it up, you're 10-6. And in this AFC, I think 10-6 gets you a wild card spot, and then once you're in the dance, anything can happen. So I like the Browns to win today. I like them to win by a touchdown. Say 27-20, I think is what I said before. I don't think they're going to score 30 points on this team again because I think Cincinnati's defense, even without their best corner, has gotten better as the season progressed. And they're coming off a game where they should have won last week. So, this coming week, we'll see a Friday night for Ohio State pregame as opposed to Saturday. There's some stuff going on, and it's Halloween. On Sunday, we'll have Browns pregame again for the Raiders. I am going to start the research process for the Jordan LeBron episode, which is going to take a while because there's so much to dive into with this kind of content. And in the next week or so, you will see Tone, Alex, and I again as we will we will do a recap of the World Series, and we will also get into what we think the hot stove season is going to look like and make our predictions for the award winners in Major League Baseball. As always, Big Rican can be found here on both YouTube and the Big Rican on Sports Facebook page, Twitter at Big Rican on Sport, Instagram at Big Rican on Sports, and of course, as far as just audio, which is recording next to me, Google Podcast, Spotify, Breaker, Anchor, Radio Public, and as a proud member of the Time Skew Podcast Network. Go Browns. Get a W today. Get to 5-2. Shut the media up. It would be so nice to see them eat some crow this week. Let's get it done.